Welcome to So On Brand, the podcast where wellness, mindset, and branding come together to empower ambitious female entrepreneurs and network marketers who are here to stand out and level up. I'm your host, Bailey Stewart, and I'm on a mission to help you build a brand that commands attention, establish authority, and step into the healthiest and wealthiest you. If you're ready to become the best version of yourself, stand firm in your authenticity, and bring in some serious cash flow, then you're in the right place, babe. I'm so happy you're here. Let's do this. Hello, you guys. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for today's conversation. Welcome back to the podcast. We are going to dive in because I recently did a Girl Code 101. That's my series on Instagram where I just give advice on all things business, life, friendships, all of the things. And I did an episode all about this topic. So today I want to dive deeper into that, okay? It's going to be all about your circle, how it matters, how it elevates your life, how it stalls your life, and how it ultimately, at the end of the day, makes or breaks you, your life, and your success. It's not just about friends. It's not just about who you've known the longest. It's not about who's the most fun. It's about proximity. It's about elevating your thinking. It's about expanding your knowledge. It's about being around people who have done what you want to do, or at least people who have the same type of mindset as you when it comes to their future. And lastly, it is about the type of conversations that happen in your daily life, how you feel when you leave people, how you feel when you're in the presence of people, and ultimately how that's going to affect everything else in your life. This is also perfect timing of the episode because I'm about to go to Orlando, Florida, and be with all of my business partners, some of the top producers in the affiliate marketing and social selling world, and we just have so much fun, first of all, but the absolute best conversations ever. Those are the type of rooms that you want to put yourself in. Those are the type of friendships that you want to have. Those are the type of people that you want to have conversations with that are going to elevate your life, elevate your thinking, and really help you expand. So let's get into it, okay? Most women, and I say women because that's the people who I talk to on here. If you're a dude and you're listening, I love you too. This is relevant for you too, but I just always say women because that is who I primarily talk to. So most women, most people think that their limitations are skill-based, confidence-based, and strategy-based. And they are on the surface. But most ceilings and most things that cap you are proximity-based. If nobody in your circle intimidates you a little bit, makes more than you, is further ahead in life than you, challenges your thinking, expands your knowledge or expands your vision, you will subconsciously never change. You will subconsciously always be okay with settling for less. Average is comfortable, but it is so unbelievably expensive. What it will cost you is so much more in the long run. When I'm coaching people, I always talk about this, and it's the difference between cost and price. Okay? Being average is expensive because it costs you so much. The price of it, $0, I guess, but the cost of it is everything. So I really want you to think about that, okay? The price versus the cost of something. Everyone always asks, well, what does it cost? What does it cost? What does it cost? No. What you're asking is the price point of it, the price point of something, okay? So maybe the price of an outfit that you want, okay? That's the dollar amount that you will spend. The cost is what you're risking losing if you don't get it. So for us shopaholics, what's the cost of not having that cute piece in your closet, right? Or if we want to dive a little bit deeper and get a little more serious with it, let's talk about investing into a business, okay? What is the price of investing into a business? Well, in my case, I invested about $500 to start a business that pays me hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars and will one day pay me even more. So the cost of not being okay with the price of $500 is my entire future, is whatever I'm going to build here. The cost would be potentially not ever having that, potentially going back to work 9 to 5, potentially not having the freedom I have, potentially not having the business I have. That is the cost. The cost is not how much I paid for it. $500 is the price that I paid. The cost of not paying that price is all of those things I just mentioned. So there's a difference in that, and a lot of people don't differentiate, and it's really important to be able to differentiate that, okay? So the importance of putting yourselves in rooms where people get that, they understand also that the price of something is kind of irrelevant depending on what the investment is for. Those kind of rooms are not only going to, again, expand your thinking, but they are going to change your entire identity. Your entire identity. And I don't say that lightly, because truly who I am today has been molded by a lot of different things in life, right? Our experience mold who we are. Our experiences determine who we become. But part of those experiences in life are putting yourselves in rooms that are going to make or break you, putting yourselves in friendships that are going to make or break you. And when you're in these rooms that expand that, here's what you start to see. You start to see what's normal at the next level, the level you haven't really achieved yet. You start to see what's normal 10, 5, 3 years from now. You start to see what urgency actually looks like. You start to see what execution actually looks like. And you start to get a taste of what it looks like to work and perform at a completely different level than you're used to. And suddenly, these things that felt so far out of reach for you become the new normal and become the new baseline. So here's the scary part about this whole topic. If you are in rooms with people who are further ahead in the game than you, then these bigger ideas, this hard work, these big numbers of income, maybe these different levels of impact in the world, they become your baseline. If you're in a room where average is joked about, mediocrity is joked about, mediocrity is normalized, that becomes your baseline. If you're in rooms where people are always like, oh, you're too much. Like, why do you have to do that? Why do you feel the need to go harder? Why do you feel the need to grow? Why are you always reading? Why are you always at conferences? La, 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 la. You are subconsciously going to succumb to those standards. You rise to the standards of your circle, or fall to the standards of your circle. And if you're someone who wants growth in life, if you're someone who wants more than the average, if you are someone who doesn't want to play into the mediocrity bullshit that this world wants to put on us, you cannot put yourself in rooms with people that think that way. And I've said this before, but it doesn't have to be people who are in the same industry as you, or who even do the same thing as you, or who even have the same goals as you. All I'm saying is that you have to be in rooms with people who think bigger. That might be completely different in their world than your world, but they still have the big thinking. They still have that unlock. They're still pushing forward. They're still wanting more. They're still not settling. That might look different in their life than your life. You don't have to only be friends with people who do what you do for work, but you have to be friends with people who have a dream. You have to be friends with people who have a vision. Otherwise, you are literally going to subconsciously fall to the standards of the rooms that you put yourself in with people who are mediocre. Doesn't mean you can't love them, but you absolutely cannot surround yourselves with them 24/7. And it's really funny because when you start this whole journey of trying to figure out your circle and upgrade your identity and upgrade the people that you're spending time with, it's uncomfortable. It is so unbelievably uncomfortable because for a while you feel like an outcast. For a while you're like, are these conversations really happening? Did they just say a number that I think they just said? Did they just talk about XYZ as if it was a normal day? Yeah, they did, because it is in their lives, because they're 10 steps ahead of you. If you are ever the smartest person in a room, you're in the wrong room. That's not to say that sometimes you can't put yourself in those rooms to help elevate, to help coach, to help, bring that vision to other people. But if that is your normal, it shouldn't be. So at first it may seem really uncomfortable. It may seem kind of out of reach. I will never forget Cole and I, we have been really, really specific about the types of people that we spend time with. And we don't spend time with people who are lazy. We don't spend time with people who are complainers. We don't spend time with people who have this doomsday view on life or victim mentality. We just can't do it. And for a while it was really uncomfortable because we had to cut ties. And it's not like we had to do this with a lot of people. A lot of our friends weren't like that to begin with. We have a really good group of friends, but there were a few. Just like there's probably a few in your life that you're thinking of right now where you're like, yeah, they don't really bring out the best in me, right? And there were some people that we had to kind of cut ties with. And so on that aspect, it's uncomfortable. And then on the aspect of putting yourselves in the new rooms and the new friend circles, that's also uncomfortable because you don't necessarily feel like you fully belong there either. So when Cole and I first started putting ourselves in those circles, it was hard. It was a learning period. And it took so much time for us to realize that people were living a lot differently than what we ever saw possible. When we went to college, our goals were to get a 4-year degree, to graduate and find a great job that we could hopefully stay at forever and retire with a bomb 401k. Okay? That was our vision. And throughout the 4 years of college, we both started learning new things. And, I realized that the career path that I had chosen wasn't where I wanted to be. And there was all these moving parts, right? But within all of that, I found this social selling world. And we started to go to events, and we were around people who were living quite a different life than what we had planned for ourselves. And what that did for me is it gave me tangibility. It made it real, okay? Because no longer was I reading about these people. They weren't like far away, people living in LA that I couldn't even relate to. These were real people around my age, around Cole's age, who were living so unbelievably different than we ever would have dreamed of. So what that did for us is it showed, oh my gosh, this is actually possible. And not only is it possible, but it's possible for people like me. And that expanded our vision. So then suddenly, that really wasn't the way that I wanted to live. I didn't really care about a 401k anymore. I cared about different things. I wanted time freedom. When Cole and I graduated from college, we were grinding. You guys. And so suddenly time together and time to just choose what I wanted to do was the most important thing. So instead of chasing a 401k and stability, I started to chase what wasn't the norm. I started to chase not going to a 9-to-5. I didn't want to be at work all day. I didn't want to give my husband and my future children the worst of me after a long day as a social worker or as a personal trainer. I loved being a personal trainer, but it just wasn't going to give us what we had now decided that we wanted. Fast forward to now, we have gone through so many different cycles because for the longest time, after we decided we wanted freedom, it was like, okay, just get Bailey out of her job. We did that. And then it was, okay, now we want enough money to be able to travel. And we did that. And we traveled so much for about 6 years, like so much, more than we ever would have thought possible. We were traveling more in a year than we grew up traveling in 3 years. Like it was incredible. And then it became, okay, now we want enough money to buy a house and move back to our home state of Wyoming. And we did that. And now we're in this era, which we've been in for a few years, where the main focus is not the money in the bank account and the main focus is not travel, because we've been there, we've done that, and we want to continue to do that. But that has now become our baseline. The traveling and the time freedom and the flexibility and just the freedom of choice in general has become our new baseline. So now the goal is to take what we're making and create lasting legacy, investments, long-term sustainable businesses, a flourishing team that is also having long-term sustainable businesses, and to continue living that life of freedom, but in a way that's more focused on legacy versus right now. For a long time, when you're first becoming an entrepreneur, you're so focused on the income. You're like, what am I making? How much is in my bank account? What am I going to be paying taxes on? XYZ. But it's just so insane to me how we went from wanting a 401k and a sustainable 9-to-5 job to now I don't want a 9-to-5 job. I want Cole to do something he loves. I want to do what I love. I want us to have the freedom to travel when and if we want. But I also am focused on legacy. And legacy to me is not money. To me, money can definitely help to create the legacy, but it's about the impact and the ripple effect and how you leave people after you found them. And it's just so much different. And we never would have considered the type of investments that we've done if we wouldn't have went from wanting a 401k to just wanting a little bit of freedom, to then wanting me out of my job, to then wanting a little bit of money, to now being focused on investments, right? It took time. And as that went on and as that evolution happened within our goals and our dreams and our vision, it only happened because we continued to upgrade the rooms that we were in. And it only happened because we continued to weed out the people we didn't want to spend time with. And I know that can sound harsh because we're no better than anyone. You're no better than anyone. But there's also a certain purpose that God put on your life. And we have to take that seriously. And if there are people in the way of that, it doesn't mean anything bad on them. It doesn't mean that they have to change at all, but it does mean that sometimes missions and values just don't align anymore, and you are fully allowed to say no thank you and walk away from that, just like anyone is fully allowed to say no thank you and walk away from me, or to decide that they don't want us in their lives. If it doesn't align anymore with their ultimate goal, then I would encourage them to cut ties with me or whoever they need to, because that's just the reality of it. So my message in this whole thing is to start putting yourselves in circles that normalize expansion, that normalize growth, that normalize being a little bit crazy. They normalize maybe a little bit of risk, and they normalize people winning. If you hear me when I say this, this is a very important point. If you have a friend circle that you cannot share wins with because it sounds like you are bragging, time for a complete revamp. Like I said, maybe it's just one or two people, but if you're in a circle where you can't share that with anyone, it is time to reevaluate. Because people who are focused on their own growth, focused on their own progression, and who have big thinking and big vision, they know that A, there is room for everybody to win. They know that B, just because you're winning doesn't mean they are not, doesn't mean that C, your winning takes away from anything that they're doing. And D, most people who are doing something that's worth a damn in their lives are surrounded by other people doing things that is worth a damn. And so they're used to the celebrations. They're used to that. They're used to those conversations. And guess what else they're used to? Is the conversation of how to come back from situations where it didn't go your way, when it didn't work out. If you are in a circle where you can only share the hard times, that is not the circle for you, especially not if you want growth. And I want to also hit on the fact that this isn't just regarding business. Yes, this podcast is all about building a brand, building a business, taking care of yourselves, being the best you can be. And so with that being said, this also plays into your body. It plays into how you take care of your body, how you fuel your body, how you treat your husband, how you steward your marriage, how you steward the money that you have, the confidence that you have in yourself, the discipline that you have in yourself, the respect that you have for yourself and your spouse and your kids and your marriage. It all plays into each other. You have to take care of your body, and you have to be a good steward of your health in order to be able to grow and scale a business. If you want a thriving business, you can't have a miserable body, miserable mindset, miserable home life. It all intertwines, and it all comes down to who you surround yourself with, the energy you put into your circle, and what you allow into your life. And I say all of this with love. I really do, because my entire purpose here is to help you see, and help everyone who's listening to this see, that there is more to life than what you've been told. There is more to life than what small-minded people have instilled into you. Growth requires friction. It's freaking uncomfortable. It requires discomfort. It requires some risks, and it requires exposure. You got to be willing to put yourself out there, which also means subjecting yourself to scrutiny sometimes. I've had a lot of people be like, why are you so serious about XYZ? Why do you not talk to so-and-so anymore? Did something happen? Did this happen? No, there doesn't always have to be a story. No is a full sentence. No thank you is a full sentence. You're allowed to walk away from things that are no longer serving you. But when you're on a trajectory of growth, you are going to have to submit yourself to being misunderstood, especially by the people who you may be outgrowing along the way, because they might not understand, and it's not their job to. So like I said, I am getting ready to walk into a room full of people celebrating each other, almost officially 1 year into the launch of this company. We are about to expand into new product categories, expand into new markets. We are bringing on new business partners. We've got bonuses that are going crazy. We are updating tech. We are in a huge season of momentum. And here's what I know. If the founder of this company wouldn't have put himself in rooms that expanded him, we wouldn't be here. If I wouldn't have put myself in rooms that expanded me, I wouldn't be in this industry. I also wouldn't have grown my last company and my last business to the point that I did, to the point where I had the confidence to then transition and build what we've built here, which, by the way, is like 6 times bigger than anything I've ever built. Okay. What I also know is I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the people who I get to partner with that have also expanded their vision, that have also put themselves in rooms that only help further them and their goals and their vision and their relationship with God and their good stewarding of their bodies and their good stewarding of their money. Like, all of that matters. And all of this that I just said we're going to be celebrating would not have happened without people being specific about putting themselves in rooms that expand their thinking, expand their vision, and expand what they think is possible. Point blank, period. And you know what else those rooms do is they accelerate your decision making and they collapse timelines. What does that mean? We live in the day and age where our friends, our social media followers, our business partners, everything can be all over the place, right? All over the world. But when you get into these rooms and you are specific about putting yourself in positions to be in person with people like this, you are going to get so much clarity that you're no longer going through decision fatigue. You're no longer halfway in, halfway out. You make a decision, you say yes, you go all in, and you grind. The decision making becomes easy and fast. When you're unsure, it's because you're unclear. It doesn't mean that you're bad at decision making. It just means that your vision isn't clear enough that you just kind of figure out the how. You gotta figure out the why and the vision and the ultimate goal, and the how will just come. So when you put yourself in person in rooms like this, it's gonna collapse that timeline. It literally turns months into weeks and weeks into days. And suddenly your decision speed becomes fast, your momentum speed becomes fast, and everything is happening at a much quicker rate than before. It's not magic. It's literally science, and it's literally the power of proximity. You guys should read about it because it's so incredible, the power of proximity on either end. On either end, we are literally, as humans, hardwired to think negatively. We have to be so proactive about putting positivity into our brains because we are just hardwired for negativity. And these rooms do that for you. They do it with you. And so we have to be so intentional about this in order to grow, but also to grow at the speed of which we want to grow, which I'm thinking for everybody listening is probably fast as hell. I'm trying to grow fast as hell. I don't know about you guys. And that is the type of energy that you can consume through a screen for a good amount of time. But when it comes to the point when you can put yourself in person with these people, you have to do it. And maybe you're at the very beginning of this journey. Right now, you've just got a couple names in your head that you're like, yeah, they gotta go. Maybe that's the season that you're in. Maybe you're not even in the season where you're like, there's no one that I could even put myself in a room with. Like, how do I even find these rooms? Who are these people with these rooms? Where are they at? I felt that way too. So what I encourage you to do is, if you're at the very beginning, is get very clear on your goals, get very clear on your timeline, get very clear on your reason and your driving force behind that. So specific, you guys, so freaking specific. And then I want you to say no to everything that does not contribute to that. Gossip, drama, complaining, victimhood, like, no. None of that is going to contribute to growth, and it sure as shit is not going to contribute to accelerated growth. So if that means putting yourself out there and, again, submitting yourself to being misunderstood, that's what it's going to take. It might take at first you just kind of taking some steps back from some certain people, not cutting them out completely, but just taking some steps back just to kind of open up for more space for the things that are going to propel you forward. That might be what it looks like at first. And then finding someone or some people who have what you want, even if it's not necessarily the exact thing, but they have the vision that you want, or they have the lifestyle that you want, or they seem to have XYZ that you want. Find them and ask them how they did it. 9 times out of 10, if you meet a successful person, they do not gatekeep. Successful people see those just starting out and they don't judge. They don't ridicule. They don't talk down on. They lift you up. They empower you. And hopefully they'll be there for you. There's enough room in this world for every single person to win at every single thing that they want to win at. So keep that in mind. And the successful people will show you how. The third part of this is your ceiling. Whatever your ceiling is right now, it is forever going to stay there until you find people or books or podcasts or whatever to help you expand it. And that's just simply because of how we are hardwired, again, as humans, okay? There's this study that they did with fleas. I know this is weird, but stay with me, okay? There's a study that they did with fleas, and fleas can jump really, really high, okay? But they put all of these fleas in a canister with a lid, okay? These fleas can jump so high, much higher than the canister that they were in. But because there was a lid on, they jumped and they would hit the top. They would jump and then they'd hit the top. Eventually, over time, they were conditioned to stop jumping that high because they kept hitting the top, right? Well, then they took the lid off. And guess what the flea never did? It never jumped past the point of that lid because it was conditioned to think that that was as high as it could ever go. That is you. That's me. If you're in environments where maybe $50,000 a year is like killer money and working 9 to 5 is the norm and getting around, and drinking with your friends every night is your vision, it's forever going to be that vision. Because you're conditioned for that to be your baseline. And guess what? If at one point you decide that that's no longer what you want for yourself and you start to go through this growth trajectory and find people that are more aligned with you, people are going to think you're weird. The people from your old life are going to think you're weird. Or they might be inspired by you and follow suit. That's another thing that could happen. But if they don't, they're going to think you're weird. They're going to be like, what's up with this dude? What's up with this girl? They're acting weird. And it's because you want more for yourself. And again, it's not because anything's wrong with the way that you are now, but you're currently conditioned to think that that's your max. So then when you get in rooms, let's just take income, for example, okay? Because it's an easy, tangible topic that everyone understands. Let's say that you get into this room and someone's talking about how to scale their $1 million business to a $10 million business. You might be like, you're already at $1 million and you want more? Because your baseline is so far below that, you're like, holy cow. But guess what happens? Over time, you become conditioned to think that type of verbiage and those type of numbers and those sizes of businesses and that type of life is normal. That becomes your baseline. But when you first get exposed to that, you're like, what the heck? Like me and Cole, for example, when we graduated college, we both were like, we cannot wait to find jobs that make us 6 figures. Like imagine both of us making 6 figures, 9 to 5, weekends off, we get paid time off. That was our vision. So when we met these people who are like, oh yeah, we don't sit down at a desk hardly ever. We do meetings on a Zoom from like wherever we're at. I was like, what? What do you mean? That's crazy to me. And then eventually, Zooms and working remote became my baseline. And then guess what happened? I met people that were talking about even bigger things, talking about running teams and sales organizations and traveling for work and going to places like Italy and Greece. Let's take my old company, for example. When I hit $50,000 a month, you guys should go listen to one of my past episodes talking about how I took my business from $50,000 a month to about $300,000 a month. It's the craziest story, all about taking a leap of faith and upgrading your identity, which is what we're talking about today. But when I hit $50,000 a month, I was ecstatic. That felt like my cap. I eventually wanted to hit 100,000 and I was like, okay, I hit 50. I need to sit in this and be excited. And then, maybe in 3 to 5 years, I could hit the 100. Like that'll be great, right? That's one thing about me I've always had is that long-term vision. But it wasn't until I put myself in rooms with people who had bigger thinking than me and had an elevated vision from me that I started to collapse that timeline. And 3 to 5 years became 3 years, and then 3 years became 2 years. And then suddenly I was restarting from zero and we built the biggest thing we've ever built. And that became my baseline. 50,000 was my baseline. And now we've got a different baseline. And eventually we'll have another different baseline. But none of that happens if you stay in rooms with people who are okay settling, with people who are okay with mediocrity. You have to submit yourself to people who challenge you and push you, and not only challenge and push your thinking, but also challenge and push your beliefs and your confidence in yourself. Because most of us are fully capable of doing what we want to do. It's just believing that. It's just actually having the audacity to go do it and to also be able to say, no, thank you to the opinions of others, because everybody's going to have one, especially if you do things off the beaten path. But who cares? Because over time, your baseline just rises and rises and rises, and these crazy things that felt so far out of reach become normal. And it happens slowly. It happens really, really slowly. And then one day you're just sitting in your house. Cole and I literally just had a moment like this the other day. You're sitting in your house and you're like, this is crazy that we're here, right? And what's even crazier is that we don't even feel like we've arrived yet. I don't know if anyone ever truly arrives. Like, I don't know if that's a thing, but we haven't, right? But still, to look back from now to like when we graduated college, the evolving that has happened has been insane. And I can pinpoint almost every season with a decision that scared me or a decision that felt a little bit uncomfortable or exposing myself to new rooms and to people who made me uncomfortable. I can pinpoint almost every season of growth to something like that. And I know Cole would say the same. It's unbelievable. So if your environment always stays the same, you will also always stay the same. So I know this was kind of a shorter episode, but I just wanted to share that with you and expand more on that episode that I did, on my Instagram, because we underestimate the value and the effects that our friend circle has on us. And society, especially right now, is so focused on like being accepting and okay with everything. And I just want to give you the permission to not be okay with everything. You do not have to take everything for face value. You do not have to agree with everything, and you do not have to let things slide if that's not going to contribute to your ultimate vision. Every single one of us, I know I said this already this episode, but every single one of us has a purpose put on our life by God. And it is our job to live that out and to expand the kingdom and to continue growing and to figure out in what way we are meant to impact. You are allowed to want more for yourself. You are allowed to not submit to all the standards that society puts on us or what they say is normal or what they say is successful. You are allowed to go after different things. You are allowed to go off the beaten path, and you don't have to give anyone an explanation for it. Do it with grace, do it with kindness, but you don't have to explain yourself. So if you're not in rooms like this, you're not falling behind, you're not behind at all, but that could be a contributing factor to why maybe you're not where you want to be yet. Or to why you might think that where you're at is as good as it's going to get. I promise it's not. So if you've been feeling restless, or maybe you're just ready for something different, or maybe you're feeling under challenged, you're feeling kind of bored, you're feeling kind of stagnant, that's your sign. It's time. It's time to upgrade your identity. It's time to upgrade your circle. It's time to upgrade your vision and really open up that lid so that you can have bigger thinking. So if you guys want to talk more about this, please reach out to me. I am an open book, and I have mentored hundreds and hundreds of women on exactly how to do this, exactly how to upgrade their identity, expand their thinking, and truly figure out like what the heck it is that they want for their lives, and then how to start working their way towards it. Maybe it's not that you need more information. Maybe you've got all the knowledge. Maybe you've got all the skills. Maybe you've got what you need to go to the next level. You're just not going there yet because you need a new room. So this is your invitation, because my room is pretty badass and they are pretty incredible, and we don't gatekeep. So come sit at our table or just DM me. Like I said, I'm an open book, and I will help you get on that track and figure out what it is that you want out of your life. Because like I said, you will absolutely 100% never, ever, ever outperform your environment or outperform the way that you see yourself. You have to instill confidence in yourself. You have to upgrade your identity. You have to upgrade your circle, and that will foster growth. Those are the first steps. So I hope this helps someone. I love expanding more because my Girl Code series is such short videos. So I think I'm going to do this a little bit more often and kind of tie in the two and start doing longer pod episodes on topics that I talk about on Instagram, because it's just so powerful. And I know that there's so many of you out there that are wanting more, and I don't have it all figured out. I don't. But what I will tell you is over the past 12 years in this industry, but specifically the last 3 years, my life has done a complete 180. I have changed, I have expanded, I have evolved, and I've been surrounded by people who have done the same on the same scale, and some even much bigger than I. Like, It is incredible the type of momentum that I've seen in my life over the past few years, simply just because Cole and I were open to it. That's literally all it took. And because we understood that not every decision needs to make sense to everyone. In fact, a lot of our best decisions have made the least sense to anybody but ourselves, truthfully. So that's my little reminder to you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to So On Brand. I hope you loved this episode, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, share it with your business besties, put it on the gram, all the things, you know the drill. I'll see you guys next time.